Welcome. Thank you so much for coming to the Extreme Tech Challenge Semiconductors and AI Innovation Forum. It's so wonderful to see many old friends and also new faces in the crowd. So thank you for making time tonight to join us. My name is Victoria Slivkoff, and I'm your host today. I've had the pleasure of leading Extreme Tech Challenge for the last number of years, and the great work that we're doing, it's all enabled by wonderful people in the audience today and joining us remotely. The purpose of today's gathering is to round up the deep tech community and foster robust discussions around the future of semiconductors and AI, and catalyze partnerships and engagements among this wonderful community. We're also going to be announcing the top 8 finalists of our startup competition called Semiconductors and AI Innovation Cup that's generously supported by ARM and as well as Hon Hai Technology Group Foxconn. So we want to thank you for your generous support and engagement. Also, I want to recognize our partners for supporting today's event, our friends and colleagues at Foley and Lardner LLP. So please wave hello. It's a delegation led by partner Louis Lowe, saying hello to our friends from Foley. And also our host of this beautiful space at CBRE, led by Lucas. So Lucas, wave hello. Thank you, Lucas. So I want to tell you a little bit about Extreme Tech Challenge, or XTC for short, for those of you joining us for the first time. Founded by industry captains Young Sung and Bill Tai about over 10 years ago, our mission is all about supporting amazing entrepreneurs that are building startups to enhance human and planetary health as inspired by the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and given what we call the power of this community to help them accelerate and realize their full potential. We are a US-based nonprofit, so in addition to the work that we do, holding startup competitions, showcases, networking events such as this, innovation forums, we do our own events, but we also partner with leading tech conferences over the world. As of today, such as today, we're a side event of TechCrunch Disrupt. So if you follow our LinkedIn account, you know that we've been very, very busy as we do this globally. So I want to recognize, as we're a US-based nonprofit, we couldn't possibly do this work without all of your support as mentors, judges, evaluators, sponsors, as well as speakers. And I see many of you here today. So please give yourselves a round of applause for the wonderful work that's only possible with your support and work. We're also so delighted to be, as we expand our scope, we're also very delighted to be trusted by leading corporations as well as friendly governments and IGOs such as the United Nations agencies to build innovation programs and innovation ecosystems to help accelerate startups that make a difference, but also to create economic benefit and prosperity so that the benefit can be felt for all. So we're really, really delighted to be doing this important work as a nonprofit. So today, we're going to have such a robust discussion. We're going to hear a couple of great conversations hosted by our longtime friends and colleagues. And please stay for the networking events till the end. And this is such a beautiful space. I hope we're going to be catching the sunset very soon. I am so passionate, and I believe in the power of innovation, entrepreneurship, this community, and committed meaningful capital to create a world that we want to live in. So thank you so much. And now, please put your hands together for Extreme Tech Challenge founders, Young Sung and Bill Tai, to say a few words. Thank you, everybody.
I think Victoria said it all, so we really don't have much to add.
Right? I'm just amazed that we have this kind of a crowd for a semiconductor function. So I've been in venture capital for quite a while, but my backstory is I came out here in 1983 to join the CEO of Fairchild Semiconductor in a chip startup called LSI Logic. And I think there are actually people in the room that remember that name, because a lot of the places I go now, they don't even know what it is. And there was another gentleman with me there, Jensen Wang, We do happen to be related, but he went off to start NVIDIA, as you guys know, and I went to go help the government of Taiwan start TSMC. So silicon is kind of in both of our bloods. He was a Samsung Semiconductor.
Well, actually, I came out of Silicon Valley exactly the same time as you, 1983, for Intel. And I was working on microprocessor design team. So in a way, without semi, we wouldn't be here.
No, and I couldn't even imagine when we started this competition, having gone through heavy capital intensive waves for decades. The last pure silicon deal I funded was 2006. So it was a long time ago, which was a MEMS-based timing circuit that got bought by Silicon Labs. And I swore after that it was so hard that I was never going to do another chip deal because they just took too much money and too much time, and it was just too hard. So when the world changed to be these young kids that could sit in a dorm room and code up a Facebook, I had to find a way to throw competitions to get to know that young crowd. And I never would have thought that we'd have a room full of people, some of whom were in companies that I funded 35 or 40 years ago that went public. You know, I can't even believe they're here still and working on cool startups. So thank you all for coming.
You know, I think that I wasn't as smart as Bill because I would continue to invest and spending time in semiconductor, as you know. I took my last company, Inphi, public 2010, which was a very difficult year, by the way. But I think since then, I've been still very much involved with ecosystems like ARM, Samsung, Cadence. And I'm glad we are in a spotlight. I mean, nobody would expect semi would mean something, because usually when you want to see a bunch of VCs, they all run away from you, because they really did not want to touch semi. But here we are. It's, without that, you cannot really innovate. Clearly, Jensen has been one of the heroes of today, but there are many heroes to get to where he is, right? Because semi cannot be done by one person, by one company, by one industrial movement. It has been a building over a long time. It's a building blocks like Legos, and eventually become where we are today.
Well, you guys are all starting another wave, because I think in the early 80s, most of the profit in technology was either at IBM selling mainframes or in the silicon business, which was enabling everybody else. And obviously it's all sitting inside or accruing to NVIDIA now. But I think all of you are going to be, building edge devices and other parts of the data center infrastructure that I think are going to broaden it out a bit and empower the whole next wave that I think is going to be a big one.
You know, when I joined the ARM board, I remember this whole idea of digital architecture for tomorrow, right? Well, how many licenses have been used for ARM? Over 300 billion? Easily. So the point, I think, is it's everywhere. Every fabric of what we do, you have the architecture that are out there that are enabling every single things we use today. Without ARM, there would be no mobile phones. Without Intel, there would be no PCs in terms of what's driving it. And I think that without today, NVIDIA, probably very hard to do the kind of training we are doing. The question is what's coming next. And I also think that we have a lot of opportunities to make it better, right? Because it is very power hungry. You know we can do better. So today's talk is about how do we do better than where we are today, because it matters. It matters a lot, because the more people are using chip, the more innovation that requires to enable it. So the Extreme Tech competition really is about making sure that corporations and startups are working together to create a highway of innovation. And that was the whole idea behind it. But in the beginning, we met to do some other stuff to justify our hobbies. Go ahead.
This whole thing started on a kite surfing trip, and that's a much longer story. But in that era, obviously there are a lot of young, aggressive kids that wanted to follow Sergey and Larry, onto the water, and they kind of came out to hang out with us. So they started pitching each other, and it became this. So thank you all for that.
Well, sometimes it's good to have a passion and hobby to get it going, but it became now a global event. I think, Bill, wouldn't you say we have like over $275 billion worth of value has been created through XTC-related activities?
It's around that. I mean, I'll give you one. There was one fantastic trip of among many where we had some companies pitching, and it was, I'm trying to remember the year. I think this was 2012. We had a young person raising her first $3 million for a company today called Canva. That is a $40 billion outcome. So far, it's a profitable company. We had Eric Yuan launch the first version of Zoom on that trip. Peak value that was 160 billion. It's more like 25, 30 now. The CEO of Color Genomics was in his prior startup, and we seeded him off of that trip in what now is about a $4 or $5 billion company. So, but that's just 3 out of.
Ring.com.
Oh yeah, Ring was put together on that trip. There's dozens of companies that have formed because they had the support of community. Because obviously you can't do these things alone, and you got to get help, advice, a little bit of publicity, some customers. All those things matter. Low-cost infrastructure, and if you can get all that with a good product, a little capital to fuel you along, you might have something.
I think the key formula there is that the people that assembled together, that cared, they were interested in innovation. We're also willing to take a risk on something that are unknown. And I think through that mentorship and relationship, and as you know, company building takes time. I think we're talking about even Zoom, we invested in 2011, right? And when IPO 2019, right? Canva is still ongoing, but you know it's going to be a good outcome. So these things all take time, and I think it's important to have a long view and have a patient relationship.
Especially in chip world.
Yeah, I was just about to say, especially in chip world.
At least twice as long.
Yeah. I think Inphi took 12 years to go IPO.
That's fast for a chip company.
So.
Great, thank you so much. Please.
I do want to say, Victoria, I think you've done a fabulous job of managing our event. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you so much, Young and Bill, and thank you for your guidance and your support. And I feel super fortunate to be doing a job that's both meaningful and also a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Young and Bill.